44. In Battendorf. He brought his running stuff, and in the morning he found the college track and logged 3 miles, feeling the altitude the whole time. Before he checked out of the motel, he flipped on the TV, which he had purposely left off last night. There was no newscast on, but a local channel doing an interview show had a ticker tape at the bottom with headlines, and Chris found his. Pocatello man shot, remains critical. Chris was afraid of this, the fucker hanging on and maybe being able to say something. The good thing, though, if he was remaining critical, that implied he started off critical. So how talkative could he have been with a bullet in the head? Either way, there was no point sitting around, and after an hour and 20 minutes, he crossed into Evanston, Wyoming, and he understood why they called it the Big Sky Country. The deep blue sky with wisps of white clouds hovering like a giant dome that extended down to all corners of the earth. By lunchtime, he wasn't dwelling on Thad as much and was trying to piece together when the last time was he'd seen his sister Bonnie. There was the time they'd met up in Vermont when Bonnie and her then-husband Wayne were renting a summer place and Chris was driving to Nova Scotia. Bert was probably 3 or 4 then. That was the August after their mom died, 6 years ago now. That was it? He stopped for the night in Lexington, Nebraska, and before he went to bed, he called Bonnie. "You woke me up," she said. "There's a time change, remember?" "I'm in the middle of the country," he said. "I thought there'd be less of one." "Chrissy, it really is nice to hear from you, but now I'm worried something's wrong." "Nothing's wrong. How's Bert?" "He's good. He just turned 9. What are you doing there?" "I thought I'd say hello in person. It's been way too long," he said. "When?" "It was Friday night. I'm thinking Monday," he said. "You still in the same place?" Bonnie said, "No, we moved. We're in Cambridge off Mass Ave." She gave him the address. "You winging it on your own?" Chris said, or someone else stepped in. "No, just me and Bert and the cat," she said. On Saturday afternoon, Chris found a library in Battendorf, Iowa, and checked on Thad. The Idaho State Journal had a story from the morning. Pocatello man shot Thursday, removed from life support. Owned area fitness clubs. April 14, 2017. Pocatello Fitness Club owner Thad Simmons was shot Thursday in a Yellowstone Avenue attack and was removed from life support last night, having died, authorities said. Simmons, 47, had left his office at the Broadway Fit Health Club at approximately 5 p.m. and had gotten into his car when he was shot at close range in the facility's parking lot, police said. Simmons was taken to Pontotoc Medical Center, where he was placed on life support. A decision to remove him was made last night before midnight, according to a hospital spokesperson. Police have released no further details about the killing. Simmons had been a Pocatello resident since 2003. From 2005 to 2011, he was an adjunct professor in the business school at Idaho State. Simmons opened Broadway Fit in 2006 and added a smaller gym on Clark Street in 2009 and another in Chubbuck in 2014. Plans are reportedly underway for expansion to Twin Falls and Boise. Chris was thinking it was good they didn't tell you the details of who exactly made the call on pulling the plug. That would have been hard to take. Hopefully the police might connect Thad ballistically to the pickup truck guy and stay busy figuring out who would have had something against both of them. The main thing, he didn't make it, thank God. Outside the library, he called Floyd. Everything quiet on Broderick Street? Chris said. I'm enjoying your pad, Floyd said. Anyone drop by at all? Yeah, well, a few people, Floyd said. You don't mind, right? No, that's fine. I mean, anyone we don't know. Nah. How about Brigida, the AWOL husband thing? I didn't ask her, Floyd said, but she hasn't seemed that concerned about it. Well, Chris said, you're a stabilizing influence then. I'm going to go see Bonnie. Then put in a word for me too, Floyd said. I've been bad. I haven't seen her in a year and a half. Will do, Chris said. He figured what the heck and called Bethany. How's the squash, he said. Have you been using the tactic I suggested, elevating the ball more? I wasn't sure I'd be hearing from you, she said. Well, I guess you did me a favor. The cards on the table and what have you. Does Kim seem okay? She seems good, Bethany said, but Chris, I have to run. What for? I have to finish packing and get to the airport. I've got next week off. I'm going to Dallas. Oh, yeah? A girlfriend invited me down. She just bought a new house there, actually in Plano. You wouldn't believe what you get for your money. Have a safe flight, he said. That night, he phoned Kim from Elkhart, Indiana. She said, I'm sitting here watching TV on a Saturday night. So needless to say, I'm very glad you called. What's on? He said. I'm missing you in that special way also, she said. Well, Chris said, I'm going to wrap it up in a couple of days and then try to shoot back home fast. We can sample that place on Columbus again, and this time I won't have dinner first. Oh, I forgot to tell you. She said, last night my friend Dana from work, she wanted to go out. She teaches spin classes. And we were sort of at a loss, Kim said, so I suggested your place on Chestnut. Weatherby's, he said. How was it? We ran into your brother. Oh, yeah? We just pretty much said hi. He was with a woman. Chris was thinking, but didn't want to start asking who. It was a multiple choice decision. Even Joyce could have worked her way into the equation since there was a chance she'd stop down, freaked out by another visit from cousins and afraid to use the phone. What a small world, he said. Kim said, Chris, I was thinking, when you get back, you could always stay at my place for a while, if you didn't want to rush Floyd out of yours. Gee, that's very accommodating of you. You could put up with me? I'd like to try. Well, you've definitely got my attention in Indiana, he said. 45. Big Sundays. He put in one more big day, which brought him to West Stockbridge in the Berkshire Mountains, and Monday afternoon he made it to Bonnie's. After the formalities, Chris said, Have I aged much since that time in Vermont? To be honest, Bonnie said, I don't have a clear image of what you looked like then. Chris said, This wasn't the worst drive, actually. What I always forget until I get out there is how much of the country is farms. What about work and stuff? He asked her. I'm on the computer, she said, grant writing, some management consulting, the occasional freelance project. It's good because I can work around Bert. That is good, Chris said, though whenever I hear someone say management consulting, I have no idea what they're talking about. But that's my problem. Before you get comfortable, I have to pick up Bert. You want to come? Well, do you think he'll have any idea who I am? He didn't this morning, but I filled him in. Bonnie had the middle floor in a squared-off three-family house that Chris remembered they called a triple-decker in Boston. It felt like a working-class neighborhood, but there were some fancy cars parked on the street, though Bonnie's was a beat-up Corolla. What do you pay for your place? He said. $1,800 a month, she said. Why? I don't know. You could do a lot better in Phoenix, Floyd's neighborhood. You get a whole house for $12. You can park in your driveway, and you don't need an ice scraper for the windshield. I don't think I'm Phoenix material, she said. Bert's not either. You don't know that. I'll talk to him and feel him out. Chris, don't be confusing him, okay? You know what? At his age, he can turn everything upside down and he's fine. Well, his dad moved to Florida, she said, so that part's not fine. Chris said, no, that wouldn't be. They waited outside in a lineup with the other parents, everyone idling. Chris thinking, turn off the damn engines and relax. It was clearly a private school, but he hoped Bonnie wouldn't get into the curriculum and whether it was a charter, Waldorf, alternative, or whatever. Bert approached the car. He was a smiling kid with curly hair that came down in his eyes. He was shorter than most of the others and had on a backpack that looked way too big. Chris got out of the car with Bonnie, and without saying anything, Bert came up to him and hugged him around the waist. And for a moment, Chris felt his throat tighten. Hey, man, he said, you're not supposed to know me. You're my uncle, Bert said. Are you staying over at our house tonight? I'd like to, if you can handle me being on the couch. Bert said, hey, I'll sleep on the couch. You go in my room. Chris said, nope, I'm not kicking you out of your room. But can you show it to me? See what we got going on in there? Yeah, Bert said. Bonnie said since it was a special occasion, why not go for ice cream? And they went to a place in Harvard Square that was full of college kids putting away big sundaes. Bert dug into his for the first few bites and then started to struggle, and Chris finished it off for him. That's good. You'll never be a fat guy, Chris said. I'm small, though, Bert said. I'm a shrimp. Chris said, maybe now, but I was noticing something. You got big feet. He does, Bonnie said. Chris said, I'm telling you, you're going to be tall. Well, my dad's pretty tall, Bert said. Chris was picturing Wayne, and yeah, he was around 6 at least. There was a kid in my school, Chris said, Peter Figg. He towered over everyone until about 6th grade. In 8th grade, when we graduated, he was the shortest one in the class. Wow, Bert said. Another guy, Andy Hokepap. Little backup point guard on the freshman team in high school. His junior year, he was dunking the ball. He grew like a foot. He had real big feet when he was young. Just like you. Man, Bert said. Just don't dunk on me, though, Chris said, when you come out to San Francisco. Bonnie stared at him. Bert slid over and put his head on Chris's shoulder, and there didn't seem to be any rush to go anywhere. Bonnie told Bert to go in his room and take care of his homework, and she and Chris sat at the dining table drinking red wine. Chris said quietly, so what's the story with Wayne? He met someone. She's from down there, and he moved in with her. About 2 years now. He's in a stepdad situation. Ah, man. Not sure if I ever told you, but Wayne was married once before. He has a couple of teenage kids on his own. Ah, Christ. It is a mess, he said. The sad thing is, he has a good heart. I see a lot of that in Bert. How about you, Chrissy? Well, I don't want to jinx myself, but I feel like I've got something picking up steam in the right direction. Someone you could actually settle down with, she said. Well, some circumstances that need to pan out, but yeah. Well, I'm happy for you. And what about Floyd? Nah, that'll never happen. Bert came into the dining room. That was a little quick, Bonnie said. You sure? Pretty sure, Bert said. Can't I play some hockey with Uncle Chris? Chris said, Bert, I have to draw the line at hockey. He has a tabletop game, Bonnie said. He's pretty into it. The hockey set was in the center of Bert's room on a low table with 2 dedicated chairs. One team was the Boston Bruins and the other was the Chicago Blackhawks. Bert had given every player a name right off the NHL rosters, and he announced the action as they played. He kept getting the puck to his center forward, who would ram it into the net before Chris could find the handle for the goalie. Two things this proves, Chris said after he lost 10-1. First, mechanical games are much better than the electronic ones. Second, if you don't grow enough to dunk, you can always make it as a play-by-play man. You're amazing. Can we go again, Bert said. We can, Chris said. In fact, we can keep going until your mom drags me out of here. Bert called into the other room. Mom, me and Uncle Chris are busy. Please don't bother us. And even if she drags me out of here, Chris said, I might sneak back in. They had breakfast together, and on the way to school, Chris told Bert he was leaving today, and Bert started crying. You know what, Chris said? You're the best 9-year-old I've ever met in my life. It's not even close. Are you coming back? Bert said. Either that, or what I'm hoping, you can come out and see me. Soon. Yeah, Mom, can we? We'll talk about it, Bonnie said. Right now you have to say goodbye or you'll be late. Bye, Uncle Chris, Bert said, and he ran over to a friend who was being dropped off. And Chris was relieved to see them joking around as they disappeared into the school. It's a defense mechanism, Bonnie said. That's how he says goodbye to his dad. Chrissy, you okay? Chris didn't say anything. Bonnie said, well, this visit, it's been good for all of us, clearly. After a minute, Chris said, okay, I'm going to lay this out there. One of those life's too short ones. Can you and Bert move to San Francisco? Chris, you have to be real. How would we undertake something of that magnitude? Chris said, you got what, maybe a month and a half left of school? Then you pack 2 suitcases, you get on the fucking plane, and I meet you at the other end. That's how you do it. Well, she said, you certainly are animated. I didn't see this coming. Neither did I, but sometimes you just have to do shit. Okay, she said, don't talk about it any further. I won't ignore what you've said, and we have to leave it at that right now. You and Bert can have my apartment. I've got a place to stay. Chrissy, what the hell did I just tell you? I'm just saying, he said. 46. Family swim. Chris decided in case this turned out to be his last cross-country trip, he'd try a southern route home that he'd never been on. He took 87 south through the Appalachians to Knoxville, Tennessee, and then it would be 40 west, all the way to Bakersfield. The second night, in Midwest City, Oklahoma, he phoned Kim. Just checking in, he said. Oh, hey, Kim said. Hey? Chris, I'm sorry you've caught me at a bad moment. Yeah? It was just a rough day at work, and a couple other things you don't want to hear about. Well, I wrapped everything up, he said, and I'm a few days away. Oh, so when do you think you'll be back exactly? According to Google, it should take me 23 hours and 38 minutes. That's in current traffic. So, she said, does that mean about Sunday? I was thinking more Friday night. I'm looking forward to getting home. Okay, for me, the weekend would be better. That's fine, he said. I can slow down, take in some sights along the way. Chris, everything I'm saying, it's coming out wrong. My frame of mind is not where it should be. Plus, my time of the month is close. I'm sorry. Don't be silly. I've got my place. I just have to give Floyd a little heads up. The next day at a gas station near Amarillo, he called Bonnie. How's the little man, he said. He's fine, Bonnie said. But what? I talked to him about coming out and visiting. We might. Wow, that's great news. But for how long? I thought a week would be about right, then maybe go see Floyd too. Jesus Christ, a week? Just stay. No, Chrissy, that's not going to work. You know what? At least stay for the summer. Develop a little routine. Get a beat on the city. There's day camps up the wazoo that Bert will love. On the weekends, I'll take him body surfing at Stinson Beach. He's not that great a swimmer, she said. God damn it. Now why is that? He's just never taken to it very well. Okay, Chris said, forget the camps. We'll get him lessons every day, and at night I'll take him to the family swim and help him. I feel like you're overpowering me here, she said. That's because you need to be overpowered. I love you, though. Love you too, Monty said. One observation, as he'd rolled through Arkansas, Oklahoma, and now North Texas, the portions were bigger in the restaurants than up off Highway 80, and the food was better. He got into Flagstaff that night in time for a run and fell asleep watching a Diamondbacks game on TV. The phone woke him up, and he answered without checking who it was. You fucking bastard, Bethany said. Chris muted the sound on the TV where a late-night weight loss infomercial had replaced the baseball game. He said, Why am I thinking your Dallas trip didn't pan out that great? I'd just like to know, Bethany said, what kind of lowlife gets his rocks off meddling in other people's business? It sounded like she'd been drinking. I was there anyway, he said, so I thought I'd try to help you out. Apparently, it backfired. My own husband, she said, he's afraid to see me. How unbelievable is that? You look in the mirror, Chris? What do you see staring back at you? Chris said, Kyle screw around with other people too, or just with you? Fuck you. When you get a chance, ask him if he's been back to the Holiday Inn Express and if it worked out any better. She hung up. It was 1:10. Chris thinking a little late to call Kim, but maybe not that bad. Kim answered after 4 rings. Jesus, Chris, she said. Something I didn't ask you, he said. Your frame of mind situation, that have anything to do with Bethany? What a crazy question. What are you talking about? She laid something on me just now that was definitely out there. No? I haven't spoken to her, Kim said. I think she's on vacation. All right then. Sorry to bother you. It's okay, she said. Friday, he stopped for lunch at a Coco's in Barstow, and he sat at the counter and watched the short-order chefs work. He remembered a family trip to the Grand Canyon once where they stopped at a drive-in in Barstow and everyone got slushes. He remembered it because something went wrong with the slush machine and they all came out funny, and his dad would bring it up over the years and embellish the story. Chris was never real close to his dad, but he could picture him on those road trips, getting out of the car whistling, his shirt stuck to his back, and telling everyone to order whatever they wanted, that the price didn't matter. Before he got back on the freeway, he called Floyd. He said, Hope I'm not throwing you off, but I'm making good time. I'll be there tonight. That okay? Floyd said, Yeah, it'll be all yours. I got somewhere to go. No need to get out of there on my account, Chris said. You been enjoying the neighborhood? Really nice. In case I haven't told you, I appreciate everything. Well, it's my pleasure to see you have a good time. How's Allison? Pretty good, I think, Floyd said. The apartment looked spick and span, and Chris guessed Floyd had some help. There was a big bowl of fruit on the kitchen table. It wasn't even 10, the night was still young, and he took a shower to get freshened up for Weatherby's. But he started to fall asleep putting on his socks and got under the fresh sheets and slept for 11 hours. 47. Lucia now. Chris woke up Saturday thinking this would be a good day to go back to Sebastopol, see if he could develop a game plan and maybe catch Joyce on the way. He called her and she said it wasn't the best time, but she could meet him for an hour in town. There was an outdoor place on the Petaluma River that had Philly cheese steaks and sandwiches of other varieties and homemade potato chips. You sat on picnic tables with red and white tablecloths and watched the occasional boat sail by. Did you know I came by? Joyce said. Floyd doesn't volunteer much information, Chris said, but I figured you might. That detective again, she said. Should I be worried about anything? And Chris, going back to my impulse at the very beginning, should you be worried about anything? No and no. Well, she said that certainly slams the door on any discussion, but fine. You went where now? See my sister. I'm trying to think. Did you ever meet her? No. She may be coming out with my nephew, the greatest little guy. You get together with Floyd, since you were there anyway? What, Chris? I have to tell you my life story now? What happened with Doug, by the way, Chris said. Just what you saw. I'm going out with Dave Lucia now. From school? The guy who taught math? He still does. I finally found some stability. A good guy right under my nose. Well, I'm happy for you. And he shouldn't even be a suspect. Or did he know Donnie? Chris, shut up. Joyce had to go, and Chris could feel the drive catching up to him, the sun and a couple of beers on top of it now. He was going to have to forget about Sebastopol today, and he went home and took a nap. After dinner, he drove over to Brigida's. No idea if she'd be around or what he might find. Chris, welcome back, she said. Won't you come in? Thanks, but that's okay. Is there anyone here? No. Why? Well, he said last time you were pretty scared about that guy they found, and Steve wasn't around. He come back at all? Steve has moved to Israel, Brigida said. Holy shit. He sent an email. That was how I found out my husband left me. Okay, Chris said, let's back it up for a second. Did the police come here? They have not. I see. So at this point, you don't think Steve killed anyone, but you still think the people who killed the Demirko guy are after Steve. That might be his concern, yes, she said. Frankly, I'm not worried about Steve anymore. Oh, I'm not, Chris. I have the house, I have an efficient bank account, and I feel a certain strength in turning the page. You've been a big help there. Floyd's helped out as well, he said. Well, you embarrass me a bit, but yes, he's helped out beautifully. He stay here last night? Chris said, just curious, because I had to elbow him out of my apartment. Nope, I haven't seen Floyd in a few days. He needed to cancel Thursday evening. We're supposed to have lunch tomorrow, though. Ah. Oh, and I've seen Ray. I visited him Monday during his dialysis treatment. Now that is really nice of you, Chris said. How is he? I felt his spirits were low, but he hides it. You're right, Chris said. Behind all the sarcasm, he's as scared as any of us. He is, Brigida said, and she kissed him good night. Well, that's more like it, Shep said when he spotted Chris. Now we got a Saturday night around here. Chris said, Shep, something dawned on me crystal clear out on the open road. I come in here, it's all about me. It's never once about you. I'm sorry for that. That's how I like it, partner. Shep looked around and came closer. Mission accomplished? Or what? Main one, yeah. Everything else is kind of jumbled up, though. Well, that happens, Shep said. The first thing, Chris said, nothing concrete. But that girl Kim? The perky little one, Shep said, who thinks something bad's going to happen to you. Yeah, her. The momentum was picking up, looking pretty sweet there through Indiana. By the time I got to Tennessee, just a hunch. I think she might have been fucking my brother. Shep said. But I won't put you on the spot in case you possibly observed anything. Thanks, Shep said. He brought him a refill. Well, what can you do? Chris said. Shep said, you know, it seems like way back there now, that first day you came in from the doctor, saying you were going to tie up loose ends. Yeah. Don't you think maybe you've accomplished enough? I see what you're saying. Sit back and enjoy life. Well, I got one more eating at me, but the guy's lucky because I'm going to have to pace myself. Because you're slowing down physically, Shep said. No, I'm burned out. For a second, you had me worried, Shep said. 48. Drop thingy. On Sunday, Chris took a long walk up Lyon to Pacific, along Fillmore to Sacramento, over Nob Hill to Powell, and down to 5th and Market, where they turned the cable car around. He watched the tourists waiting to get on, looking excited, and he called Kim. It went to voicemail, and he didn't leave a message. Across the street was the old Emporium department store that they'd butchered by turning into a mall. Luckily, they'd preserved the original dome, and there was a seating area underneath it. Chris found a weekly news magazine and settled in and read it cover to cover. 2 items stood out: that Otter's private parts are shrinking, and the steal of the week house in Santa Fe, New Mexico was $400,000. It was around 3, and he thought, what could it hurt? And he phoned Allison. There was no answer, so he called Monica. Hey, Chris, she said, we're at Marine World. Chris said, nice. Who's we? Al and I. We just went on a drop thingy that was amazing. Have you ever been here? No, I used to like it when it was in Santa Clara, when they emphasized the fish more. Well, what's up? She said. I'm downtown. I'm starting to get hungry. Would you want to meet at that Indian place or somewhere? The one you took us to, she said. Oh, yeah, we'll be there. Better make it 8, though. We have a lot to do here still. Chris walked down Market to the Embarcadero. It was the same route as a film clip he'd seen on 60 Minutes, where a camera on the front of a streetcar captured the scene in 1906, a few days before the earthquake. Amazingly, they narrowed down the date by the stage of construction on one of the buildings along the way. There was cheering coming from AT&T Park, and Chris wandered over there and walked in, the guys at the turnstiles not bothering him because it was late, and he got a hot dog and a garlic fries and found a seat in the sun down the third baseline. It was the 8th inning, the Giants up 8-2 on Colorado, everyone in a good mood. He asked the guy next to him what happened, and the guy said Kane had given them 6 good innings. Kane had once been a star, but then needed arm surgery and had been trying to hang on ever since. No particular reason, but Chris thought of Barry Zito. Zito was a former star, too, who didn't pitch well after the Giants signed him to a big contract. He got ridiculed on the sports stations, and Chris had seen him a couple times at bars on Union Street, and one time some wise ass spit on him as he was leaving. But he'd hung in there and pulled out a clutch playoff game and won the fans back. He tried Kim again, nothing. He called Floyd. Yeah, hi, Floyd said. He was breaking up. What do we got? Chris said. Not much, man. I'm on my way home. Oh, Chris said. Thought you might be sticking around a little longer. You have to move on, Floyd said. You know how it is. Brigitte left hanging today for lunch then? No, I took care of that. Listen, I better get off. I think I have a cop behind me. Don't be a stranger, Chris said. Monica and Allison weren't at the Indian place at 8, and Chris gave it a few minutes and ordered. He was just about finished when they showed up. I don't feel too good, Monica said, sitting down. I told you that one roller coaster, we were idiots to go twice, Allison said. The one you see from the freeway, Chris said, that brings you straight up to a point and lets you fly back the way you came? A different one, Allison said. But you didn't wait for us? No, and I talked to Floyd a little while ago. Allison said, yeah, well, your girlfriend, the little bitch. Slut, Monica said. But you should have seen it. He comes over to Berkeley to pick up his stuff. Limping in like a little dog, Allison said. And Al starts slapping him, Monica said. She wouldn't stop. Henry had to restrain her. Allison said, I get how these domestic violence things happen. I really do. You start seeing red. If you have a gun handy, you might very well blow the person away. The heat of the moment, Chris said. Allison said, the thing is, you think you know someone. In the end, you're not even in the vicinity. Chris said, I don't know. So, okay, they banged each other a couple times. Unfortunate, I admit, but I guess that can happen. Monica said it can, but you forgot the moving to Arizona together part. Oh, he said. Chris was in a deep sleep Monday morning until the phone woke him up. It was a high-energy voice. Mr. Seeley, this is Erica from Dr. Steiner's office. What would be a preferred time for an appointment this week? I'm sorry, Chris said. An appointment for what? It just says consult and labs. Is tomorrow good for you? Actually, is Billy there, Dr. Steiner? I'll see if he's available. One moment, please. Steiner came on. Well, hallelujah, he said. We've got you on the phone. That's a start. Bethany still on vacation? Chris said. Bethany has indicated she's moving, Steiner said. I'm sorry to see her go. Chris said, I can see how you would be. She was a friendly face when people walked in. Always, Steiner said. So we'll see you this week then? No. Billy, what are the odds they screwed up on me? Not good, Chris. Have you seen it happen, though? Yeah, I've seen it happen. I can count them on one hand. You know what, though? Chris said. You never did get back to me with that example patient who you guys cured. One hand's not bad, actually. So, God damn it, we'll run everything again for your peace of mind. Nah, I'm too busy. Busy? You're not even working. Sure I am. I'm teaching my class in the fall at the College of Marin, and I've got tennis starting up again. I'm booking a series of lessons today in Golden Gate Park. It's your life, Steiner said, and he hung up. Until Tuesday afternoon at Weatherby's, Ray said, You dragging me in here that first time, I went along for the ride. Now I look forward to it, which pisses me off. Chris said, We're the oldest guys in the place, I'll give you that. So you tended to your business then? Ray said. Yeah, my sister and my nephew are in the picture now. One way or the other, I'm getting them out here. Hard to believe it's almost May, summer's around the corner. Well, I wouldn't mind meeting them, Ray said. Really? I said I wouldn't mind. Why you need to ask me 2 times? I heard Brigida stop by last week, Chris said. She did again yesterday. She reads to me. Oh, yeah? She be reading away, and I got no clue what's going on in the book, but she bring a certain style to the occasion. I know what you mean. You feel like you're in good hands. That's never the worst thing, Ray said. No, Chris said. It's not. The end.